So guys, if you saw the thumbnail, you know this is kind of an experiment. I've never tried this before, so I want to try something different. I'm always about trying new ideas and see how well they work. Let's say you did run out of string trimmer and the only thing you had around your house was some zip ties. We're going to try that. I've already did a little bit of cutting with it. I already have an idea of how to make it just a little bit better. Now, this is obviously not going to have the massive torque that a gasoline operated one. This is just a battery powered 20 volt, but I will try it. I'm going to show you an up close before and after. I will tell you that anything made out of plastic, once it hits concrete or chain link fence, it's just going to disintegrate it, so it's going to wear it out very quickly. But if you're just in need of something as an emergency and you've ran out of string trimmer line around your house, this is a great little alternative as long as you're not hitting concrete or steel. So let's head out to the yard and we're going to try, and I'm going to take a pair of clippers with me because I want to show you how I think this could be made just a little bit better. So I think one of the issues is they're bending in over themselves, and I think a shorter length would be better. So I think cutting these at least in half will make a difference. So we're going to take each one of these, take a pair of cutters, and cut them about 50% of what they are, and maybe they won't bend over on themselves quite so badly. Okay, now let's give that a go and see how that works. Now I can see that made a huge difference. It is cutting better and it's cutting faster. So the full length of those was making it very difficult to cut. So I think by splitting them, cutting each one in half, it worked great. So let me do a little bit more and just see how it does a little bit further down the trail. Now I'm going to say this is a total failure and it doesn't work, but I've got 3 or 4 more items that's non-conventional. These break very easily once they start hitting something hard like the gravel. Once they come in contact with the fence, they're going to break off really easy. So for me, this is a complete failure. I don't think it will work. It's a great idea, but cable ties are very brittle, and once they hit something hard, they're going to break off. You can see where they've actually 3 of the 4 are completely gone. This one's still intact, but a few more seconds and I think this one would have broke off. This one would have broke off. Well, sorry, you're not in camera frame there, but 1's gone, 2's gone, and 3's gone. So I've got another idea for something that may work better. We're going to go and change this out and see how they work. So for me personally, I'm a little disappointed because I thought it would last longer than just a matter of maybe 60 seconds once it hit the gravel. But I've got another idea that will work, I think, even better. And I've got 3 or 4 more items we're going to try in this. But you have to remember that if you're using electric, you have a lot less torque and a lot less power. So something like this is just a 20 volt electric. If you're using gas power, you're going to need a lot more protective equipment. And absolutely either way, you're going to need eye protection, ear protection, preferably some type of hat, and especially a pair of jeans like I'm wearing. So just make sure that you don't go out there with a pair of flip-flop shorts and a t-shirt and think that you're safe, because this is something that will require safety equipment. Whenever I'm doing weed eating, even with the normal twine that you normally use, I'm still wearing all this because I don't want this flying up in my face. If you have a pair of shorts on, you're going to have shins that are pretty badly cut up from all the flying sticks and debris. So just remember, safety is #1 issue. So that was a complete bust and it didn't work at all. But I have another idea. This is something I'd ordered in the past for a whole nother project. This is stainless steel zip ties. And again, all the protective equipment I would absolutely recommend. So we're going to change these out from plastic to stainless steel and see how that works. But just remember, If you're doing a large job and you're wearing those shorts and flip-flops, you're putting yourself in a lot of danger. So please wear all the proper safety equipment. I'm going to put a link in the description to things like chainsaw pants, helmets, all the flip down visor, everything that you can wear at one time. I've got all that in the greenhouse today. I'm just wearing some basic stuff just for the video. But anytime I'm doing a large job or going to be doing this for multiple hours, absolutely wear all the proper safety equipment. Don't just, like I said, put on the casual beach wear that so many people do yard work in. All right, so as I believe the same thing's going to happen with these, they're kind of going to bend in on themselves. So I'm going to take a pair of cutters and cut them down to about 6 or 7 inches so that you don't have that bending effect. There's one. Try to get them about the same length here. I'm not kind of in a hurry, so I'm not measuring carefully. Normally I'd probably have some type of measure where I'd have them all the same length, but let's just try this. 3. And the 4th one. Probably the lengths are not going to be exact, but we're a lot shorter now, so we're going to take it back out to the same area, put all our safety equipment back on, and do a little test and see how stainless steel zip ties do the trick. I want to take a close-up of this and see there's no significant damage. I worked with it for another 10 minutes in various areas. Hit the fence a few times. I hit gravel. Didn't hit any concrete, but those areas, and I don't see any significant damage. A little bit of bending here and there, and you can bend it right back out. But if you're doing this all day and you're hitting concrete and fencing, well, then this may be a lot more damage. But so far right now, it looks pretty good. So this experiment worked 100 times better than the plastic, the zip ties, which lasted all of 60 seconds. So these have, after 10 minutes, minimal damage. There's some bending here, there, and you can bend it right back out. But I'm a lot more impressed with the stainless steel zip ties, and they just work so much better. I think that this would last you for a while in a pinch if you were out of your regular trimmer line. So this would probably be so far number 1, but I've got some other things we're going to try, but this one I am pleased with. Now, one piece of advice I will give you about using these stainless steels, they are not easy to get off, so you might want to leave the loop. Instead of tightening it all the way down, leave about 1/2 inch so you can get whatever type of cutters you have into the loop and cut them off, because you may have some damage over time. So I would recommend definitely not tightening it all the way down. It won't release itself because it'll still be in its zip tie mode, but I would just say leave the loop a little bit bigger so you can get a cutting tool in there if you need to snip them off. So I was going around the shop, the greenhouse, my work shed, and everywhere, and I was looking for ideas for unique items that could be used in a string trimmer, and I came across this electrical solid copper wire that I did a repair on something a while back. So let's try this and see how this works. This has a very heavy-duty plastic coating. It's used for electrical installation for that, and so we're just going to try it in our string trimmer and just see how well it works, and I'll show you exactly how I'm going to slip it through there so it won't slide out. So I'm going to take my electrical cutters and cut that there, kind of guesstimate exactly how this is going to be. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it into one hole and then run it back out the other. But what I need is a way to keep it from slipping out. I probably will need to tie a pretzel in there because I think it's going to want to slip as it's being worked. I don't think it's going to stay in place. So we're going to create a small circle on each side and then do that on both sides, and hopefully that will keep it from slipping out. And I'm just kind of curious as to how well this will work up against some tough weeds. All right, let's give it a go. I'm going to set up my safety gloves here We're going to go down to our gravel path and see how this works with a solid copper wire. Now, I will say this about the copper line or the electrical wire we're using is we had some fraying right here on the end after about 10 minutes. We actually lost this one. I don't think I had it secured well enough in there, and it just worked its way out. I don't think it broke, but unfortunately I've lost it into the deep weeds, and I'm going to have to spend about 30 minutes looking for it. I will say that this felt most similar to just standard trimmer wire. So it didn't feel like it was out of balance. It felt it was working very smoothly, but you're going to have to, if you decide to try this with the electrical line, if you have an emergency and you need to do some trimming without any trimmer wire, this will work, but you're going to need to make sure you secure it as well as you can in there. Tighten that down, and it'll feel very close to trimmer wire, but again, it will fray. As you can see right here, it's frayed, but the copper seems to have stood up pretty good after a good bit of use there. Now, the fourth and final test, I'm using something that I use around my fencing. Sometimes I have gates that need extra support, and I use this galvanized steel cable, and it's extremely strong, load-bearing. I imagine sometimes the gates are exceeding 200 or 300 pounds. So this is extremely strong, even though it's very small. But on this one, because I want to see what it will do with a lot higher torque and a lot more power than just a electric weed trimmer, I'm going to use a steel gas-powered weed trimmer and see how well that works. So we're going to take that out and use some of this. I've already installed it into the head, and so we'll try that. And I've got a feeling it will do quite a bit more work with the strength of a steel galvanized cable. Now, what I will say about this is I think it will last if you didn't lose it and it completely coming unfrayed and breaking off. But you can see there's a lot of fraying here all the way. This one for some reason didn't fray. I think you could probably make this work if you soldered the tips, each one of these, but I still think there would be a certain amount of fraying throughout it. So I don't think this is a successful experiment. I think that the steel cable is just going to fray like this. Yes, in an emergency, I suppose you could make it work if you just needed to do the work for one day. But using it every day or having professional use this, I'm going to say the steel cable, although I think it's an interesting idea, and the idea sounds like it would be a great one, it just doesn't work because you have this issue with fraying. So I'm going to say this is a no-go as well. So guys, what is my final opinion of this? Whether using zip ties, metal zip ties, electrical wire, or even heavy-duty steel cable, I think there's a certain risk in using all of these. One, this is not really a major risk. It's very similar to what it's designed for, but I just think it's going to be very weak. These three have metal in them, and I think when you're using metal in a high RPM spinning device like this, I think you're at a lot more risk. So do I think it's worth it? I think that it's more risk using those three. So if you have chainsaw pants, a helmet with a face shield, and gloves, and long sleeves, and long pants, and not wearing flip-flops, but I think it would be okay to try it. But even with that, I just don't think it's going to perform as well. Out of the three metal types we used, I think the best one was the metal zip ties, and I don't think that would work on a gas-powered weed trimmer. I think there's too much torque and too much force. I think these will work on your average electric trimmer, 20 volt. I think they're great in a pinch if you don't have any string trimmer wire and you just happen to have some steel zip ties, and I'll put them in the link in the description if you have some other uses for them. But I just think that maybe string trimmer line is your best bet. I think that's the best way to go. Experimenting with this stuff is fun, but I just don't think it works as well as something that it was designed for. I think the manufacturers would have probably came up with something better that was made out of metal if it was safe and effective. I don't think their ultimate goal is just to keep selling you string trimmer line. They want to sell you the best line so you'll buy their product. So I just don't think that these four are really the way to go. I think using whatever your string trimmer is designed for is your best bet. So a previous video, someone asked to provide proof that it worked, and this is a cinnamon-based mosquito repellent. I've had it on all afternoon, and this is the beginning of September, the height of our mosquito season. And so far, other than this burn I caused myself with my heat gun, I don't have any marks on my skin, no itching, and so it does work. If you want to see how to make a cinnamon-based mosquito repellent, click on this link here in the description. Guys, I really appreciate you watching, and I hope you'll, if you do leave a comment, I hope you'll subscribe first, because I get so many comments. I like to filter them through public subscribers, people who did me a favor. I like to answer their questions as honestly and as accurately as I can. So please subscribe first and then leave your comment or question. I'll definitely see it there. So guys, I want to thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.